Okay guys, I'm going to go through nodes and basically how we use them. So if we go into, let's do third person BP for the moment, let's go to blueprints. Let's just create a blueprint. So if I right click here, it comes up with all these options here. So you can either create like a new folder, new C++ class, what you won't touch, and obviously unless you know C++. Import assets, all this kind of stuff here. So you've got blueprint class, level, material, particle system, and substance. We'll be focusing on the blueprint class for now, but if you go down here, there is a lot of stuff to do with animation and user interface and all that kind of stuff. So for the moment, I'm just going to show you the blueprint class. All right, we can create a whole brand new level if we want to, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to do blueprint class. And then you come up with these options here. So we've got actor, pawn, character, player, controller, game mode, base, actor, component, and scene component. So we normally click actor if you're going to do something, obviously with an object or can be spawned in the world. So it's got the description here for you guys. So an actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. Pawn is an actor that can be possessed and receive input from a controller. Character type of pawn that includes the ability to walk around. So not going to be really touching this kind of stuff. At the minute, we're just going to be touching the actor. So we can, so I can show you kind of just the nodes. Let's just name this box. I'll show you stuff we can do with a box. All right. So if we just double click here. Boop. Okay. So you can sometimes it will just open up here, so you can just chuck it to the top here, and you can switch between the two here. So here we go. We've got this. This is the area we'll be working with. You can add components. What we'll be doing now, but the right hand side is obviously the details. So you got to take rendering, replication, all this kind of stuff here. We won't be touching that at the minute. I'm just going to show you some basic stuff with the nodes. So what we can do is open up this and we can chuck in whatever we want. So we've got loads of stuff we can chuck in. You can chuck in like assets. You can do whatever you want with the assets. So you can kind of chuck in like like a spaceship, and then you can chuck in like a particle system and get the particle system firing out the thrusters at the back, or you can do what I'm going to do and just show you how to spin a cube. So here's our cube. So now we've put this in. From the last tutorial, I told you guys that we had the details, and it tells you the mesh and the materials, and it's got that here. So as soon as we bring this in, you can actually have a look and see it. So I don't know if I actually mentioned in the last tutorial. I mean, you probably can figure out yourself, but if you want to fly around, you can kind of right click to look around this, and then you can use WASD keys to fly around. So you can fly around wherever you want. You can change your speed up here. If you want to do anything to this, we have got the move tool, rotate, and scale tool, and then we've got to scale it to the world or to like local. So and then we've got grids. So if I turn that on, it like snaps. See it snapping there. If I turn it off, then it doesn't snap. So and then it's got rotate snapping, and it's got position. So like it depends on what you want to do with it. But that's the basic stuff there. So whenever you do something, with a blueprint or anything like that, you've got to compile it. Otherwise, it won't work. So you've got to compile it. So you've got compile and save, and then obviously you're all good then. So you've got the viewport, you've got construction script, and you've got the event graph, right? So we'll be focusing on the event graph. And when you come in, it gives you these nodes here. It does give you kind of a brief description of what you can do with them. But I'll go through each one now. So the event graph, the event begin play is pretty much what it says. Everything has to start with an event. So event begin play means it will initiate right at the start. As soon as the game starts, it will begin to play. And then event actor begin overlap is what you use if an actor overlaps with your object or with like a collision box or something. And for an example where you'd use this is, say if you're creating a horror game and someone walks over a a box trigger that you've placed in your level, you can have, I don't know, a ghost like come out the door. It triggers stuff, so it's like a, you know, event activity and overlap could be that, and it doesn't just have to be that. I mean, this can cause damage as well. So I don't know, if you walk towards like a character and you walk too close, you can get damaged. You know, this is just, it initiates a response once an actor overlaps with it. Okay, so that's all you got to remember. So if anything overlaps, you have to come to this node here. Event tick is called 60 frames per second. So if you need to do anything, if you need to constantly check something, it might be a player's health, you can use this. So it needs to constantly check if the player is still alive. Okay, and if it goes below 0, so if your health goes below, you know, if it's equal to or goes below 0, then it will kill that player. Just say that. So this is to constantly check. So we're going to use this at the minute, so we need it to constantly do something. We need it to constantly tick when we're rotating. So I'm just going to go through just a couple of things. I know it might be a bit much, but you can always go back through. You can always ask me, and I can go more into detail with this kind of stuff. But we want to rotate this box, okay? And there's a couple of things we need to do that. So we don't need these at the minute, so you can just delete these. So you always call them back; they're not gone forever. So we want this event tick, and what we want to do is we want to set the actor's rotation. Cool. Set actor rotation. See, and it brings up this node. I'm not expecting you guys to remember every single node, because I don't remember every single node. I'm pretty sure the person who knows this back to front probably doesn't know every single node. Well, they might do, but it's ridiculously hard. So once you start to do this kind of stuff, you'll start to remember, oh, this node does this, or this node does this. It all comes together, and it's nice. It's not just working with C++ or like any other code. It's good that we're working with nodes, and you know what nodes are. They're visual code. This is we're actually working with code right now, but it's just a visual version of it. It's just a more appealing version of it. I mean, I prefer to work like this than working with lines and lines of code. But anyway, so we've got an event tick, got a set active rotation. So remember what the actor is? It's our box, because we when we open this up, we went to blueprint class and then we chose actor. Okay, and because it's an object that can be placed or spawned in our world, and we're just going to place it. But like, you know, read the description. What are you using it for? Okay, well, you know, a lot of time you will be using actor, but you could be using pawn, character, anything like that. So you know, what are you using it for? The descriptions here. Read it and obviously use it. Apply it to what you're using. So I mean, I've already done something. You know, I've done this. I can compile it if I want to, so I can compile it. So now we've got this. We've set the actor rotation, right? So nothing's happened. Like if I went into it now and let's say dragged it in, to drag in, you just drag it straight from the content browser, its actual blueprint. You drag it straight in. If I press play, it's not going to do anything because we haven't given it any coordinates. So if we want to give it coordinates, we go back into here. And now we're setting it, but setting it's not doing anything. We need to get the rotation. We need to be very specific with this stuff. So if I got get actor, if I can spell that good, get actor rotation. There you go. So now we've got this so we're getting the rotation now. We're setting it. This is just setting it. This isn't actually getting it. By the way, if you double click on stuff, it says reading C++ symbols. Just ignore that. I just sometimes accidentally double click. But we've got the event tick, you've got a set actor rotation, and now we're just getting the rotation because, you know, it's not doing anything. We need to tell it its new coordinate. I want it to spin, so it hasn't got the actual coordinates that we need. It hasn't got the value we need here. So what you can do is, like with this as well, what you can do is right click and then you can split structure pin, okay, and it gives you all these new coordinates. So we need this because we need to rotate from a specific angle. So it gives you everything here. So X, Y, and Z. Okay. So we want to split it from Z. Okay. So if we drag off of this, now this is important, guys, because we want to add a number, right? So there's some main things you guys will probably be using. What is floats, integers, and booleans. Okay. You'll be using other stuff as well, but like this is kind of the main stuff you'll be using. So we're gonna do a float, right? Because we want to we want to add, we want to do float plus float, okay? And what this does is it allows us to add it by a certain number in here, right? So if you guys don't already know, an integer is a number which is not a fraction, it's a whole number, okay? So a float could be a percentage, because I can hit this and I can change it to 1.1 if I want to, right? So it's a percentage, okay? It's not a whole number, okay? But a float is, a floating, it's like a floating point, so it's a float. It's not a whole number, but it's a percentage. Okay, so now we've done that, I need to tell it to set. I need to tell it to actually go into here and get the actor location. So now I've done this. What I need it to do is I need it to add on to something. I mean, I +1 on that, but that won't do anything. I need this to tell it what. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a rotator. There you go. So I know it's a bit random, it might seem a bit weird at the minute, it's just the way it works, okay? Because this is getting the active rotation, this is plussing it by 1, so we're doing that on the z axis, and then we're going +1 and then make a rotator, right? So this make rotator will allow us to rotate it, and all we got to do now is go and pop that in there. But there's something wrong. Okay, so we've got a return value of z, and then we've got the x roll. We don't want that. Okay, so what we want to do is if you connect this into something like this, and you're there like, oh, I don't want that, right click, break links to float, right click, and then you can break links to float. Okay, and then you can do whatever. I mean, you can create a whole new node off of this, right? But what we want to do is just plug it in there. Okay, and then you compile it, save it, and then when we go in, it's rotating. There you go. So you can interact with it, but I can't really jump on that. There you go. There you go. So see, it's working. So I'm just going to go through that again, guys, just to quickly run through. So event tick, 60 frames per second. It's like a cog working, right? It's constantly going round and round and round and round. So that's pushing into this. So if we press play, see that? Do you see that? This here is constantly working, so you can kind of go into simulating it. It's constantly telling this set to rotation. It's going, well, what's the coordinates that we've got? Well, it's got the actor location now. All we're doing is plussing 1, and it's constantly +1, +1, +1, +1, +1. So it's constantly rotating, and you need to make the rotator to rotate it, right? And then we've just chucked the return value into there. All right, so this is how you spin a box in Unreal Engine. All right, and if we come back into here and I bring this up, there you go, spin him. Cool. In the next tutorial, guys, I'll show you something a bit extra that we can do. It's just a couple extra stuff. I'll talk to you guys about how to put stuff on your screen. In the future, I'll talk about how you can get player health, how you can open doors using keys. This is the stuff I'll be doing in the future, but I just want you to get the hang of how these work. All right, so just to recap, if it's an integer, it's a whole number. If it's a float, it's a bit like a percentage. And then if it's, say, a boolean, it's a true or false. All right, or yes or no. That's the way I say it, yes or no, true or false. But we'll go through that in the future. Okay.